And may I invite on stage our distinguished session chair, Mr. Sandeep Gupta, Executive Vice President and Chief Architect, Network Bharti Airtel. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Sandeep Gupta, our very distinguished chair for this session. Also inviting our eminent speakers, Mr. Sandeep Nagpal, Sales Consulting Director, Oracle Communications. A warm welcome once again to you, sir. Inviting our next eminent speaker, Mr. Anand Kalpathy. He is the Technical Director, he's the Technical Director 5G, 4G Solutions, Quad Gen Wireless Solutions. A very warm welcome to you. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome him. Inviting our eminent speaker, Mr. Prabjot Singh Sethi, Vice President, Engineering, Core Edge IO. A warm welcome to you, sir. Inviting Mr. Mohan Raju, Vice President and Business Head, Smart Mobility, Reliance Jio. A very warm welcome, sir. And inviting Mr. Arvind Pandey, Director, DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. A very warm welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to go ahead with the proceedings of our technical session 2. The topic for this session is 5G network strategies, collaboration, and future-ready architecture. We'll be discussing the AI-powered telco network automation, the 5G evolution, and 6G. And the time duration for this session is approximately 1 hour 30 minutes, which includes the opening and closing remarks by the distinguished session chair, presentations by all our eminent speakers for about 15 minutes each, and we shall have question and answers in the end if the time permits. And ladies and gentlemen, before I hand over to our session chair, I have the privilege of saying a few words of introduction. Our distinguished and eminent session chair, Mr. Sandeep Gupta, is working with Airtel's Network Service Group as Executive Vice President, Strategy and Architecture. Over the last 8 years of engagement, he has given strategic direction for transformation of Airtel's wireless network by driving spectrum strategy device and network ecosystem and conceptualizing new initiatives for customer experience. He has also delivered Airtel's Global Engineering and Customer Experience Lab, which is being used for seeding of new technologies and validation of commercial solutions before their mass rollout in the network. He has been associated with the telecom industry for the last 3 decades and has wide experience in technical marketing, business development, product management, designing of solutions and services, and is also holding key positions and engagements with various industry associations such as Global TD LTE Initiative, ORAN TIP, Seamless Alliance and COAI, driving standardization, harmonization and innovation. And ladies and gentlemen, with those words of introduction, I hand over to a session chair. Over to you, sir, for your opening remarks and to carry forward the proceedings.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure, along with my fellow colleagues, to be here, to be part of this discussion. And I'd like to congratulate Sashi and Bharat Exhibition for having this event, which is so apt at the time we're almost at the doors of 5G launch in India. So I'm sure that all of you carrying 5G handsets are looking forward for 5G services, and we at Airtel are working towards making sure that we get the 5G services very fast to our consumers. The session, coming back to the session, this is, as I said, so very interesting that we're talking about what is that 5G strategy in terms of collaboration as well as future readiness that will really make 5G a success in India. I think before we get to our panelists here in terms of what they would share, I'd like to set some stage context of this discussion by sharing some few insights that we talk about and at Airtel as well as industry is talking about in context of 5G. Just to share some numbers with you right now. In India, right now we have about 10% of smartphones which are already 5G ready. Which is basically about 65 million smartphones. Interestingly, the news is that next year, 5G shipments on smartphones will exceed 4G shipment. That's what the industry is forecasting. And give and take that particular momentum, we're talking about anything in the next 3 to 4 years, about 3/4 of the smartphones will get converted to 5G. So this is like a roadmap that we already are seeing in terms of 5G smartphones will pick up. Obviously, the network rollout, we talked about how we, as TSPs, how we at Airtel are planning to launch or roll out 5G aggressively. What this means is that as the networks are there and the devices are getting ready for 5G and new smartphones come in, we project that the traffic on 5G networks or overall traffic will increase by almost 3 to 4 times from where we are today. Because another contributor that we've seen globally is as 5G gets launched, the consumption also increases because you get better experience, you tend to use the network more, and then there are more applications. In South Korea, what we saw was in 3 years, with only 30% of smartphones converting to 5G, their 5G traffic was already exceeding the 4G traffic, which basically is I would say, a forecast for us that going forward in the next 3 to 4 years, we certainly will see a 5G traffic will much more as compared to the 4G traffic. Overall traffic will be maybe 4 times, which means that we as industry have to prepare not only for launch and rollouts, but in terms of keeping up the capacity of the network in line with the traffic that is expected to happen. We saw the deluge in 4G, and we saw that how we as an industry, along with DOT with its right policies, helped in getting the spectrum. But the same thing will need to be taken cognizance of when we're talking about 5G. It's not that we can just be saying that we'll launch 5G, but we have to be ready with how 4G traffic will move towards 5G, how networks will move or network capacity will move towards 5G. And this is what I think we'll all talk about, and we'll love to hear from our panel as to how the networks can be agile, how the networks can be configured in the manner that all the 4G investments, whether they have been the spectrum or on the radio side, on the core side, can be leveraged as the 5G traffic picks up and really becomes another deluge of data in the next 3 to 4 years time frame. The second part of news is that we certainly see a lot of applications, especially on the B2C side, that will come up, which will be something different from what we have seen in 4G. Just to share with you, what we are seeing is immersive experience will be a game changer in the way we are engaging with the videos. It will be whether you call about AR, VR, or XR, but I think beyond that, there'll be more role of cloud gaming, cloud computing, which will be a very different ball game in terms of technology. And for that, 5G is one enabler, but it will also be augmented along with a very different type of network architecture that you would have heard about, which is about edge cloud. That edge network, that MEC network will play a very important role. And we'll obviously love to hear from our panelists here as to what they are working towards on this side. The third part is in terms of the applications coming on B2B, where we've been talking as an industry that how we as a $3 trillion economy grow to a $5 trillion economy. And there the big piece will be how we enable and how do we really make our industries more competitive in global landscape. And that will come through a lot of transformation of enterprises and industry, what we call it through private networks, where we certainly see our industry to move towards more automation. They did that in the front end in the 4G era. All the industries really had a good front end on using 4G as a technology, but that was more front end towards the customer. Now is the time that the back end can be transformed and digitized. And that will happen through private networks. And this is where we see 5G, smart networks, the edge cloud, and AI ML techniques really bringing our industry to the forefront, where they really can be very confident of make in India local, but for global markets. So I think with these three perspectives in terms of how we see the data grow because of smartphones and the consumption, how do we see the new applications which will need a very different type of network architecture, and the private networks which will really help our industries to grow and be competitive. We get into this discussion with the more, I would say, thoughts from our panelist here. And for that, I would like to invite, first of all, Sandeep Nagpal, And while he's getting there, I'll talk about a few words about him. You would have heard him in the first session as well, but Sandeep is a sales consulting director with Oracle. He's 25 years of rich experience in telecom and IT, delivering complex transformations, technology transitions, innovations, and delivering high-impact strategies. Sandeep has a strong track record of beating business goals and improving efficiencies, working with cross-functional teams. And he'll be sharing his views on a future-proof blueprint of 5G. So Sandeep, over to you.
Thank you, Sandeep, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sandeep Nagpal from Oracle Communications. A real privilege to be part of this distinguished panel and share my views on this particular topic. I actually agree with the comments which Sandeep rightly mentioned. I mean, as an industry, all of us are eagerly waiting the launch of 5G services, which are expected around the corner. And it is a big shift, right, in terms of the technologies which are going to change as we evolve from 4G to 5G, right? IT industry, if you look at how IT industry has evolved, they were the first ones to kind of adopt technologies of AI, ML, autonomous. So I think even the telco industry cannot be left behind. Oracle has been working on a vision of an AI-driven autonomous core, which means that the way the core was designed, planned, operated in the past is going to change in the future. So we are working on a complete analytical suite, which is going to help our customers achieve that kind of vision, and it will also complement the offerings which they already have today. So we don't believe that this change will happen overnight, right? But we are working offerings which is going to complement. So we have been working on this initiative with multiple operators across the globe who were kind of the early adopters of the technology. So I will share with you what the vision is all about, what the suite is all about, and how operators in India who are going to launch 5G can actually benefit from these kind of technologies. So to start with, I will share some insights. Why is automation in the 5G core of the network going to play a critical role in the overall telco transformation? So Oracle, along with analyst Omdia, we did a survey, across the globe with some of our leading customers, the C-levels, and we tried to find out, how critical is automation as a part of their overall strategy. And with no surprises, I think 92% of them responded that, they actually have this as an integral component of their overall strategy. They are focused teams in each of these organizations. So whether it is for the analytics, whether it is for the automation, AI, ML, to drive some kind of new innovations, which is going to kind of make them ready for the future, make their networks ready for the future. So in the morning, I talked about the kind of scale, the kind of exponential growth of data which is going to happen. To manage that kind of a scale, you need to have a lot of automation built into your network. Otherwise, traditional methods will not suffice. So we need to build automation, and it is going to have direct business impacts, because anything you do is supposed to have direct business impacts. So what these executives told us is why they believe automation is going to be important, because number one is going to give them a lot of operational savings, right? To manage this kind of a network, they have to reskill a lot of their staffs, right? It's not going to happen overnight. But if you have this autonomous capabilities built into a network, which can help them to plan, to operate, to upgrade their networks, right, the way we are used to in the IT world, it makes life much more easier, and it actually results in a lot of savings from the business side. Second is on the experience improvement. Now there's a huge amount of data, about subscribers which is going to be generated, which is generated even today, right? If using AI ML, we can tap into that data and enrich the customer experience, in an automatic closed loop fashion, I think that itself is going to generate an enormous differentiator for that operator, that he is actually providing a much better customer experience vis-a-vis the other operators. So that's a second business impact, which is not easily quantifiable, but I think it's a big differentiator for any operator. And the last one is on the revenue increase, right? We talked about in the earlier sessions, and we heard a lot of panelists talking about, new revenue streams being generated from 5G, particularly on the enterprise side, right? Because unlike previous technologies which were focused on consumers, 5G is actually going to go for enterprise market as well, right? Which means a new revenue stream. So you need a lot of dynamic capabilities in the network, automatic network slicing, ensuring the right quality of services available, for those different use cases based on different criteria, right? So that is another area where if you have an autonomous network, you can actually have more potential to increase your revenue. So three direct benefits when it comes about the autonomous network. So this is the reason why we believe that core network automation is going to play a critical role in the overall telco transformation. Second thing I wanted to share is again another interesting insight based on a GSMA survey which we had seen is that the enterprise market, like I mentioned, right, is going to generate a lot of more revenues. One area which is kind of overlooked when we look at the core of the network is the amount of investment, which might be there today, which is happening in the core of the network is typically minuscule, as majority of the investments are done either on the radio side or on the infrastructure side, right, because that's where the majority of investment is done. However, the core of the network is actually the service enabler, right? It is the one where using modest investment, you can unlock a lot of revenue potential for an operator. So that's an area of focus for the C-level of most of the customers which we talked about. And this is something which came out of this survey as well, which I'm referring to. So it's very important that you have the right kind of programmatic interface into your core network. Moving ahead, so how can analytics and AI actually address the CSP requirements as they evolve towards 5G? So broadly, there are 5 areas, and each of them, can be done in parallel, in phases, or in tandem. But we believe, after multiple discussions with our customers across the globe, that if operators work, and they're already in fact working, because these inputs we have got from our customers itself, you can actually achieve the end vision of an automated core. The first one is network data analytics. Now we know even today, right, all the operators will have either an in-house network operation center or an outsourced network operation center where they are using the existing processes, kind of managing or operating a network, right? So there are traditional tools meant for assurance which ensure the right quality of service, the right performance, the right coverage, etc. is kind of ensured even today. But in future, when we are talking about an exponential kind of a scale which we have to handle, you need more different kind of mechanisms and tools which are automated to complement what you operators already have today. And here AI ML is going to play a big role, right, in providing more insights to improve on this area as well. So that is the first area which can be kind of targeted from the analytics and AI. The second is on the customer experience, right? And the customer experience can be kind of broken down into many or kind of looked at it many aspects. So as all of us consume the services provided by operators, there are different touch points which we have, right? So when you're browsing, when we're making a voice call, when we're using an app, or we are consuming some streaming services, or we're interacting with their call center. So there are multiple touch points which the customer has today with the operator. Using AI and ML, we can actually algorithmically find out, what is the kind of customer experience he has, have an NPS kind of a score, which can be used to take certain kind of corrective actions, either manually, or it can be fed to some existing tools, orchestration tools, which the customer may have already today. So this is the second area where AI ML can help operators who are evolving towards 5G. Next is on the overall network experience. What are we trying to address out here? How healthy is my network? Again, today customers are doing it, our customers do it today, but with the new technologies, I think they will need to evolve their tools or have new tools which complement their existing tools to kind of do this in a better way. Because now in a network, it's not just one network in 5G, right? You will have slices which are dedicated for certain enterprises. They need to be managed and ensured that those enterprise customers have the right kind of network experience. So the tools need to be evolved so that they understand, these new capabilities which 5G is offering. Next is an area of network optimization. So this is a continuous activity which our customers even do today, operators all over the world do today, right? So whether it is drive test or automated test tools which they have, just to ensure that the way they have designed the network it's working the same way, right? And what we believe is even in this area, AI ML can play a big role in kind of ensuring that in the 5G world where you have again, concepts of how you have dissected the network, designed the network, etc., and new features are available, how AI ML can actually help them to basically improve the overall network quality. So complementing what you have today. Last area is on the network security. We heard a lot of panelists today that it's actually an opportunity for people in this kind of an open architecture with so many network functions, underlying infrastructure could be anything. So there are going to be security threats, right? There are going to be security threats in this kind of an open kind of an architecture. However, here again, AI/ML can proactively generate a lot of insights if some anomalies are being observed in the network at any point of time. An analytics suite can give that information and take corrective actions, whether we have to block certain services or take any kind of corrective actions before, some incident happens. So this is the fifth area. So we believe that if these 5 areas and these insights we have got from our customers, who are already used and deployed 5G services, if in these areas analytics and AI can complement what the customer already has, then you can achieve the vision of an autonomous kind of a core. So that is the vision which we have, which I wanted to share with you. Now the obvious question comes to everybody's mind is, there are challenges associated with implementing an analytics kind of solution, because analytics has been there in the past as well, right? And operators have successfully used it for multiple use cases. But in the past, what used to happen is, lot of the interfaces which were used by the analytic tools were not standardized. Second, the kind of access required for the data as well as the quality of data was also a challenge for the traditional analytic kind of a solutions. There were long upgrade cycles. So if an analytical solution had to be upgraded, it was a challenge. However, if we look at the technologies available today, right, so you have 3GPP, which has now standardized network functions meant for analytics. They have well-defined interfaces from where this information has to be tapped. So most of these challenges are kind of addressed by 3GPP itself in release 16 and 17. So we believe that the challenges which the CSPs have with the existing tools can be addressed by this new network analytics suite. Another differentiation from the traditional analytics and AI/ML based analytics is going to be the way the analytics actually works. So today, analytics is mainly done by humans. So you have data scientists who will create rules, different kind of rules to kind of tap information from the network and take corrective actions. But going forward, we are talking about insights. You will have software which is going to generate insights, and it is going to be supported by machines. So you don't need, dedicated people churning into numbers, churning into data and try to dig out information. It can be complemented now by insight-driven analytics supported by machines and algorithms. So these two things put together is the vision of an analytics and automation suite. Just to give an analogy to everybody, because Oracle is well known to be a database company, we already addressed this challenge on the database side. So all of you, if I take you back 10 years, everybody who would have used an Oracle database for MIS or IT or wherever, would have remembered huge challenges. They always used to be a database administrator, right? And his life was always, very difficult, because when it came to doing an upgrade, doing any kind of performance tuning which is required, or any kind of expansion, it was a Herculean effort, because there is the amount of data, which is, confidential data and, important data which is stored in those databases. To do this activity, it had long life cycle to do those kind of upgrades. Oracle cracked that challenge, and today we have an autonomous database which is completely self-securing, self-repairing and self-driving. So we already have cracked the challenge, and we call it an Oracle autonomous database, which is available today, to all our customers. So when the same principles apply to a core of a network, 5G core of the network, it becomes an autonomous core. So we're talking about self-healing, self-repairing and self-driving kind of a network. So that is the vision which we have. And to achieve this vision, we are working on a network analytical suite, right, which compasses 4 modules, right. So one of them has been standardized by 3GPP. It is known as the NWDAF, right. So as per the release 16 and release 17, they have well-defined interfaces and use cases which are going to be addressed by NWDAF. In addition to that, what we have done is we acknowledge that even today, there would be certain non-standardized interfaces through which we need to collect data, which would be important for the analytical solution. So we have another product called Data Director as a part of this overall suite. Next module is the Insight Engine, where we have built in a lot of algorithms based on AI/ML, which are going to help in doing a lot of predictive analytics, right? So this is the module which has all the intelligence of AI/ML. Last is the management data analytical function. So this function is responsible because if you want to have the right kind of end-to-end experience, you need to correlate a lot of data, right? From the transport of the network, from the core of the network, from the radio of the network. So this function is meant to aggregate all these data and provide a comprehensive view end-to-end of any of the use cases, right? So whether it is the performance of the network, the coverage or the customer experience, it can correlate information from different legs of a network and either present it on a dashboard or feed it into an orchestration solution or an existing assurance solution so that some automatic action can be taken as well. So this is the vision which we have, and this is the suite which we are taking towards our customers. We believe that with this kind of a suite, the analytics will be more data driven and analytical driven, right? So what this means is we will be able to make a lot of proactive decision making in the network without any human intervention. Last slide, just to summarize. So we believe, based on our experiences with multiple customers across the globe, that 5G is complex, it is diverse, and for implementing it, you need the right set of tools and automation. So if you get this combination right, the cloud native architecture, the automation, I think this complexity of 5G can be easily conquered. And definitely our customers are already thinking, how to introduce automation and analytics into their existing setup, and also rethink how observability or the traditional assurance is being done, because those traditional methods also need to evolve, and this is one step in that particular direction. I'll be happy to take up any questions during the break. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandeep. I think you very well brought out the intent-based analytics and automation is the key for making sure that we get the experience right at a minimum operational cost and obviously monetize this going forward. I'd like to invite Mr. Anand Kalpati. Mr. Anand is Technical Director 4G 5G Solutions with Quadgen Wireless Solutions. He has 15 years of rich experience in telecom industry. Anand has been solution architect for digital private network solutions and has played important role in statewide fiber networks in Andhra Pradesh, Bhubaneswar Smart City project, SDN NFV based private cloud networks. Anand will be sharing his views again on future-proof blueprint of 5G. Over to you, Anand.
Thank you, Sandeep Gupta ji. A very good afternoon to all the my co-panelists and all the industry leaders and experts sitting here. It's indeed a pleasure for Quadgen Wireless Solutions to be part of 5G India 2022 and showcase what skills and expertise and exposure we bring in the 5G domain as a master system provider company, as a system integrator company, which we have been for the last digital decade, supporting our customers in AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile in the United States. We want to bring that rich experience that we have and to showcase it for 5G India as a solution. So briefly, my talk today will be about digital private network solutions and what are the key industries in which the digital private network solutions can be enabled, and what is the end-to-end architecture of digital private network solutions will look like in these industries. Firstly, I'll just start about a brief introduction about what we do as a managed service provider or a system integrator company, and then I will move into my presentation. So we as Quadgen have a digital decade of experience in managing 3G, 4G, and now 5G networks in the US for the last 14 years. We do design and deployment, build, system integration, integrate and test, and also operate and maintain. And also we have an in-house software development team which works on network performance monitoring and SON platforms, which is very relevant to what Mr. Sandeep was talking about, the NWDAF function, which is very relevant in the 5G era as the number of cell sites and the number of nodes is going to increase a lot. And as a service perspective, Quadgen services are in the network design, network integration, network engineering services, performance services, optimization services. So we bring in this full suite of services to the telcos, as well as to enable them to be a digital telco, and also to the digital private network segments. And we have domain competencies in those verticals of 4G, 5G, IPOTN, in-building solutions like small cells and DAS, because we have done a lot of in-building solution deployment design based on our design experience and tool experience for in-building, and IPOTN networks and DWDM networks, and also data center with cybersecurity. So this is the model in which that we would like to position ourselves moving into the 5G era for India. So moving towards my brief talk on 5G digital private network solutions, I would like to talk about the 4 industries where the end-to-end architecture will look like in the utility segment, in the transportation segment, multi-tenant enterprise building segments, and also oil and gas segments. So if you see here, this is what an end-to-end digital transformation of an electrical utility company will look like. So right from the access layer, where you have the AMRs, the automated meter readings, you have the FWA, you have the fixed broadband connections at every house, and then moving towards the distribution operational layer, you have all the SCADA elements in the distribution operation layer, and you have IPOTN elements which will enable these SCADAs to provide the connectivity solutions, and you have access points, and also you have a lot of IoT gateway sensors at the distribution, as well as the substation layer, as well as the core and the headquarter operations layer. So at each of these layers, we can enable a full-fledged 5G solution using the 3.5 gigahertz band with an RF channel bandwidth of n into 20 to n into 40 megahertz. And also, we can also use it in conjunction with Wi-Fi 6 as per the 3GPP standards in license access mode, where you can have both the Wi-Fi and the 5G channels put together to provide high capacities. So these are the kind of digital transformation that will happen in the electrical utility, in the distribution, substation, and the core and the headquarter operations layer. Now, the IPOTN section, where the data has to traverse from each of these layers, surely has to be upgraded to a n into 100 to n into 400 gigabits of speed of DWDM rings. And this n into 100 and n into 400 DWDM rings will enable the 5G infrastructure on each of the layers of distribution, substation, and operations. If you see here at the core headquarter operations layer in electrical utility, you can also enable 5G services like smart parking. You can have small cells in-building at the headquarter building. You can have smart kiosks, and you can have smart parking facilities also. So all these smart application enablement and smart city-based application enablement can be enabled in an electrical utility company. So this is the digital transformation of electrical utility. Moving ahead, the other example is digital transformation of metro rail networks. Now, we have the metro rail networks. It is classically 4G BTS hotels, which is getting connected in the distribution rings. And then the distribution ring at every metro station is going to be connected on access rings at each of the platforms of the metro stations. Now, this 4G base station or the BTS hotel can be improved and enhanced with capacity with 5G base stations, 5G enablement, and the same architecture of distribution to access layer can be realized. And in the access layer, in the metro station platforms, we can enable the in-building solutions of, again, the 5G small cells, the DAS systems along with Wi-Fi 6. And in the in-building, depending on capacity, we can also choose to use millimeter wave bands for certain applications and use cases. You can see the applications there, the smart parking application, smart kiosks, smart poles just outside the metro rail station, and the command and control and cybersecurity network. So all this has to be managed, maintained, and operated by the command and control network. So a full-fledged enablement of 5G in the access layer, right? Using the 5G C-band of 3.5 gigahertz with the same 20 to 40 megahertz of RL channel bandwidth can be enabled for a metro rail station. So this is another digital transformation of metro rail stations for an end-to-end network solution. So this is in-house. We used our in-house tools to do the prediction plots and also do some coverage analysis and capacity analysis for metro rail stations. And you can see there with a 5G small cell indoor, you can have almost 70% of the area covered on 5G cellular network. Of course, at the zones where coverage is not reachable, we have to extend coverage there. But on an overall level of neg 80 to neg 85 dBm RX sensitivity, you can have full 5G coverage, and you can upgrade this to be a digital transformation of the metro rail. Another important area where 5G can be enabled to the enterprise network is the digital transformation of multi-tenant complexes and campus-wide networks. We have a lot of multi-tenant complexes where we need to enable the in-building coverage going from the outdoor coverage, coming from the macro coverage. So to enable the in-building coverage, so we can use again the 5G small cells along with Wi-Fi 6, and also the latest technology of 60 gigahertz point-to-point backhaul links, which will be a classic step to avoid the legacy CAT cables, the fiber cables, and to have a point-to-point links. That is also possible, and these point-to-point links will also provide up to 6 Gbps of 2 radio throughput at each node. So this backhaul link will serve as this 60 gigahertz link will basically serve as a backhaul for your small cell or your Wi-Fi 6 access points. And at every multi-tenant building, all the traffic and all the high capacity needs of the users can be carried on the IP-OTN ring, that is the DWDM ring, at n into 100 or n into 400 Gbps of speeds. So to enable this, again we need to upgrade the DWDM ring and the IP-OTN ring, and all the traffic will be going to a non-standalone or a 5G standalone core, which will be again an on-premise core as per the need of the hour, or it can be a cloud-based core where you can host it as an SD and NFV function on the cloud with a full stack of 5G. So the applications and use cases are enormous in multi-tenant complexes. It will have digital service delivery to, business to business consumers, business to government consumers, and this can also be enabled in government user networks as well. First responder networks, MCS mission critical networks, where we had our legacy LMR, DMR radios. Now in the 3GPP release 15 and 16, they have defined the mission critical communication, which is also having a gateway to the legacy LMR and DMR also. And digital broadcast services, smart enterprise building services, smart utility services, closed user group and VPN services, because to enable an operational workforce for that particular building, for example, in 10-floor building having 20,000 people there. Like for example, in Bangalore, we have our World Trade Center building, which is a 32-floor building. And we have almost, in each floor, 4 to 5 companies, and it's almost 40,000 square feet of area per floor. So to enable digital transformation and to have in-building coverage and also enable all these applications, it is a great opportunity, and of course all this can be realized with 3.5 gigahertz and also millimeter wave bands also. And my last topic or my last slide will be on the digital transformation of oil and gas fields. It was a great experience for us. We had the opportunity to propose to one of our customers the potential oil and gas field digital transformation enablement, how an oil and gas field will actually digitally transform itself from the legacy WiMAX network to a 5G network. So you can see an operational area, for example, an operational area of 20 square kilometers in a digital, in an oil and gas field can be transformed with G-Node Bs, providing coverages up to 1 to 1.5 square kilometers of area, and it can enable the speeds and services for drones, surveillance, connected trucks, AR/VR, and MCS again plays a critical role. So a complete coverage and a capacity based network can be established in this oil and gas field, and a similar network will be spread across multiple oil and gas fields for the entire network. It will be spread across, geographically spread across multiple oil and gas fields. And also the last, where the CPEs are there, the CPEs are providing fixed wireless coverage, and the CPEs will be fixed and connected to the industrial assets, where it will provide 5G connectivity through SIM-based, sensor-based solutions, and enable the end-to-end architecture of digital transformation of oil and gas. On the leftmost side, it is the 5G standalone core, where you have EMS, NMS, NOC, 5G core with all the network function virtualization functions, may it be mobility management, or it can be service management, or it can be a policy control function. All the features of the 5G core stack can be enabled, along with application servers for MCPTT, CV2X, and MTC. So this becomes a complete digital transformation of oil and gas fields, and we have this exposure as we have proposed this kind of a solution for potential customer, and this is where we bring in to the private network segments as well as the telco segments, where we can act as a managed service provider and provide such solutions, and also give some real insights about such solutions based on the requirements. These are some of the applications and services that are enabled in the oil and gas private networks: drones, AGVs, video surveillance, AR/VR, sensors, MCS services, cybersecurity, and all the latency and the mobility, the specifications are given there, with also the edge computing platforms. So briefly, to talk about QuadGen as a corporate credentials, I would like to just touch upon that we have deep expertise in 3G, 4G, and 5G networks, IP/OTN, optical transport networks, 5G SA core networks. Recently, we have been working with DISH in the disaggregated architecture as well, and multi-edge computing, cloud data center. We have been associated with Bhubaneswar Smart City, where we built a complete city-wide smart city, realizing smart parking, smart solutions, smart waste management solutions, smart pole solutions, and also 5G OSS. I mean, a next generation OSS is really the need of the hour to support all this core functionalities and applications and services. So we come with a rich experience, and this is really what we want to help and provide as a service to the telcos as well as the private network segments. This is another snapshot of our products and expertise, customers and focuses, and the experience that we have. I would want to end with my last slide where I say on these segments of 4G, 5G, Wi-Fi 6, 60 gigahertz, SD-WAN, IP-OT and backhaul, multi-services digital private network, SD and NFV core, AI, ML, cloud and network performance monitoring services. On all these 5 fronts, there's an enormous potential and almost a 2.8 billion USD potential for market growth, and Quadgen is really well positioned to serve this total addressable market and market trends. Thank you.
Thanks, Anand, for bringing out insights on how different type of solutions and services can be used for densifying 5G networks, as we talked about, as well as using them for private networks, like in oil and gas, utility, really to improve their efficiencies and connecting the workforce and the machines. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Prabjot. So moving from the radio to the core again, I would say, or the cloud solutions, we have Mr. Prabjot, who's VP Engineering at CoreEdge.io, heading product development and cloud compass platform. He's worked extensively in domain of orchestration, SDN, traditional routing switching platforms, providing solutions using various open source projects. Prabjot has extended his services to the community as chairperson for Tungsten Fabric Steering Committee, contributions to Linux Foundation Networking White Paper, and Solution Showcase using open source projects. He'll be sharing our views on 5G evolution, cloud native technologies enabling network and infrastructure automation. Over to you, Prabjot.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So we at CoreEdge have done a lot of work around enabling cloud native technologies, not just in the core infrastructure, but also at the edge. Thank you. Also at the edge, as we are already talking about edge cloud, right? That is going to be one of the major piece of the requirement to really deliver end-to-end capabilities that we are talking about with respect to the 5G overall solutioning, right? Let it be Mac or some of the other pieces that we need to address. And that's where infrastructure is going to become a very important piece. And what we believe cloud native technologies can enable all of these in a very easy manner, enabling automation on not just on the infrastructure, but also on the network interconnects, the way all of your services are going to function together and deliver the overall 5G experience for the consumers. So before getting into this, right, so what is essentially cloud native, right? So many times this term gets confused and interpreted in different manners. So essentially from the perspective from where we are coming from, it's more of taking advantages of distributed compute that is being offered by your infrastructure and enabling automation of how these services are going to be rolled over and perform together, irrespective of which server it goes on to and how it actually functions together, right? So you might correlate this with a lot of the capabilities that your public clouds are offering you to you already. So that's what we are talking about with respect to cloud native. And essentially the idea here is that we are looking forward to bring independence, resiliency, some sort of standard-based interoperability with the workloads, and even agility and automation where expectation is that there will be no downtime. So when we talk about all these expectations, one would assume that, okay, the service has to be up and running almost 100% of the time to really give you a very good user experience in the to begin with, right? But this is where, when we talk about cloud native technologies, they differ. They said you plan for failure, and so it's okay to have failures, but you should have a fallback plan. So when it fails, how your service should continue to be provided, irrespective of whether a single individual application or the microservice is still up and running or not, your service impact should be minimal. And that are the concepts on which this whole platform and thought process is built upon. And this underneath, of course, uses the open source technologies like OpenStack and Kubernetes, but they just form the foundation and the basis of it. That in itself does not really takes you where you really want to be with respect to cloud native automation of infrastructure and network interconnects. So here, I'll just flash this for the reference. People might already connect with it. So we are taking a reference of 5G core deployment, which already defines a lot of PCs as per the 3GPP standard, and talks about how this needs to be connected, right? And many of you might realize this is already either containerized or virtualized PCs that you are already deploying as part of your 5G rollout that is going to be coming soon, right? As we were discussing, that is already knocking on the door. But the point is how we go further ahead is going to be very, very important, right? Leveraging these things ahead of the time, bringing in some sort of automation and expecting how you are going to cover the scenarios when the load on the network increases, when you need to deliver a huge amount of data, you need to serve huge number of users. Today we are only talking about human users, but 5G is set to roll out a lot of devices that are going to be onboarded onto the network to deliver use cases like V2X, to deliver use cases like some of the smart city projects that would be enabled, to deliver use cases on Mac, right? So to enable all of that, there will be a huge requirement to replicate these things and keep on having multiple instances of it being deployed and then serving the purpose for it. And just taking a little bit further into perspective, just deployment is not enough. Now you initially might begin with, okay, my 5G network would be a continuation from what I have been doing from in my 4G network, because that gives you a leeway to switch the technology and still deliver the similar experience with managing pretty much the infrastructure the way you are managing it today. So that is your probably the first use case that you might look at, right, where you're just doing a local offload where the UPF is going to sit on the edge, but most of the core is still centralized, managed in one of the regional data center or a place where you're going to manage your users, you are going to take care of how your AMF and other packet core functions would behave. But the moment you go further down, where you might have locally administrated edge or even the autonomous edge, the requirements just keep on getting complex and complex going further, right? And it's not easy to envision how you are going to use OpenStack Kubernetes the way you are using it in your data centers at your edge. And that becomes very big challenge the moment you start including edge and talk about how edge cloud would help you. So these challenges, there are of course challenges, right? And this is, I mean, easy to say, everyone will talk about it, but how to really bring it into action is critical. And as I was pointing out at the edge, you can't expect to have all these skill sets on diversified independent locations to have people. I mean, this itself is difficult to do it in a data center itself. I think most of the operators would probably agree that you can't have expertise on all of the features or all of the capabilities that I have been listing over here. And the problem to certain extent even expands, right, and questions whether it's even feasible to do it at the edge, right? And that's where most of the public clouds like Google, Oracle, AWS and Microsoft are already trying to collaborate with the telcos to figure out the right solution for the edge, right? And in fact, even for some of the IoT solutions which they have done, they are trying to position it if they can solve some of the telco problems. But to our understanding, it's still too early to really accept them as the only way to go ahead, right? Because they are not really designed for telco-oriented operations. And even if you look at the core part of it today, so similar requirements are there. So telcos are pretty much limited with two options. So either they leverage public cloud infrastructure, which somewhere leads to a larger cost of operations, and at times you may want to choose multiple clouds instead of relying on just one. So probably all of you are aware of the incident that happened with AWS, and you can't expect a downtime for your subscribers when you're leveraging these public cloud infrastructures, right? You try to diversify your investments over there. And then comes the legal aspects also. So for data sovereignty and the control which regulations might enforce on you on where the data should be going. And then the second option is that you improve your infrastructure itself, that it gives you a hyperscaler kind of capability and functionality, right? Now, I don't see the public cloud vendors, probably it's not as part of their business strategy, right? It's not of their interest to enable others to set up equivalent data centers or public cloud infrastructure, right? Because it becomes a competition. But from a 5G rollout perspective, you will require some sort of core where you want to have equivalent capabilities, so you can manage your infrastructure to certain extent and give a best solution that you would require, right? Equivalent to what capabilities your hyperscalers are providing you as of today. So continuing a little further, so this is one of the project which Google has seeded in collaboration with the Linux Foundation. And this is where the public cloud vendors and the telcos are trying to come together to solve this problem. And essentially the idea is to enable cloud native technologies in certain mechanisms so that your infrastructure, your Kubernetes as a platform, and over and above your network functions that are coming from 5G can be automated and managed with a intent-driven and event-driven mechanism which Kubernetes is already providing. So having said that, this allows you to do a lot of things, and Google, as per their statement, they are already leveraging it and using it in their business process offerings. And this is supposed to simplify a lot of stuff, but it still does not capture how you are going to address the edge scenarios, because the problem remains same, right? You need to have a unified, centralized management on the distributed infrastructure, and over and above you need to have automation on how your workloads will be deployed and connected to each other. And that's where the work that we have been doing comes to help, where so we provide a edge and cloud platform. So you can read it as edge cloud or edge and cloud, because we do both, where we have two products, Cloud Compass and Cirrus Cloud Platform. Cirrus Cloud Platform helps you build your own public cloud equivalent hyperscaler kind of environment on your data centers, which gives you all the automations you required with respect to spinning up your infrastructure components and connecting them together. And Cloud Compass gives you an overarching umbrella where it brings edge also into perspective. So no matter the geography of your infrastructure, no matter how far it is located from your data center, it makes sure all those infrastructure comes and work as one layer for you. It becomes a platform on top of it. So as part of our offering, we give you infrastructure management, multi-cloud orchestration, and a uniform layer of identity access management, giving uniform role-based access as well. And all of these assumes that the underneath infrastructure remains same. So we do not expect you to bring in a new infrastructure to really do all of these items, but we enable your existing infrastructure over and above, and all the applications fits directly into it, and the data sovereignty is also retained by the virtue of that your data lakes will be the ones which are going to be fed with this information and analytics details that whatever this platform is being generating. So I'll keep it short. We do have a booth outside. If this interests you, we can discuss further. And of course, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Prabjot, for bringing the need for edge cloud and the challenges around it, and how you are trying to solve it by bringing in agility and automation for deployment and managing those edge clouds that would see light of the day as 5G scales up. Now moving on from the solutions to an operator view, I'd like to invite Mr. Mohan Raju. Mohan is VP and Business Head of at Reliance Jio. He's responsible for leading Jio's business interest in IoT domain and special focus on smart mobility segment. He has a rich experience in driving growth in new verticals and has held business leadership roles at Donlo, Bharti, and HCL. So welcome you back for Bharti as well. And Mon as an honorary chair for Mobility Special Interest Group at Indus Entrepreneurs, IoT Forum, and a member of Digital Communications Working Group at IET. Sorry. So,
Thank
welcome,
you,
Mon.
Sandeep, for the nice introduction, and good afternoon, esteemed ladies and gentlemen. And I hope I'm not in a tough position between all of us and the lunch. We are at 1:20. I think I'll keep short in the interest of time. And of course, Arvindji as well. I hope we are not in a tight spot, right? So while it's great to hear, all the, technology evolution with, we all facing 5G launch, right, in the country in the next 3 to 4 weeks. That's what I hear from Sandeep this morning. So, how exactly will all this be harnessed, right? And when my topic today in the next 10 minutes is 5G and smart mobility. When I say smart mobility, this is about mobility, automotive mobility, right? Which is like the vehicles that you and me drive, right? Ultimately, all this tech has got to power each one of the industry verticals, which ultimately drive our GDP of our country, right? So I'll give a peek into how 5G will transform smart mobility. We all believe, and what we see globally is, this is one of the industry vertical which will be the impacted fastest, and that will touch all our lives, in our daily lives, basically, because we drive and we use vehicles every day, right? So just to start with, as a starter point, what some of the achievements of Jio with 4G, right? We are a 4G born provider, and these are some of the achievements that you see on the deck, what we have been doing in the last 6 years as Jio. I would bring special attention to the last two, points. 4G enhanced our speeds from on an average of 256K to 21 Mbps on 4G, and it led to data consumption growth to almost 12 GB in our country. Now, these are the 2 points which will fundamentally see exponential growth with the onset of 5G, right? 21 Mbps will be passive. We all will be used to few hundred Mbps on an average sitting in this hall with the ability to select the network slice for our own application on the device, right? So that's one point, hundreds of Mbps on an average. Now, that's a significant shift. The average data consumption is expected again to go into hundreds of thousands of GB per month. Not only at the consumer side, I think the biggest consumer will be the industry verticals, right? Because with 5G, even a car becomes a super form of a mobile phone, right? And mobile phone is driven by apps that you and me use, and heavy apps are like videos and voice recognition and so on. But take an example of a car. Today, the car is sophisticated enough with electronics and software. An autonomous test in a lab needs around 400 GB per hour. Now, those kind of networks are not ever tested, not only here but anywhere. But the tech is ready. As we see in telecom, 5G, 6G is also ready. But where are the use cases? So we are in an era where technology is available before we can actually use, right? But that's an amazing juncture to be in, right? So this will bring fundamental shift in terms of how 5G will enable, right, the mobility space. And obviously from a Jio perspective, not only the network, ultimately we all have to be able to consume in a appified manner, right? So we at Jio have been focused to build the entire digital ecosystem, the right platforms and the right applications. Here you see some of the applications, which it's a mix of applications. We have our consumer applications like maybe a Jio Cinema, Jio TV, or a Jio 7, and enterprise industry vertical platforms and applications under the banner of Jio Business. And the last two that you see on the bottom, Jio Motive and Jio Humsafar, are actually platforms designed to transform mobility landscape with the onset of 5G, right? With these two platforms, we plan to enable the digital transformation of the entire mobility ecosystem, or so-called the intelligent transport system, which is being driven as a part of smart cities and digital India initiatives by the government of India. Looking at the connected car communication technology evolution itself. Now look at it, L1, there was no data that's been tapped out of the vehicle. As we move forward with the onset of 2G and the edge networks, we have basic data points being tapped out of the vehicle, like location, right? So-called the GPS. As we evolve to 4G, right? prognostics, diagnostics, infotainment, navigation, all these became real life use cases. It's only possible by the power of technology like 4G, right? And today we are at an era where we are migrating from L3 to L4, right? Now what is unique or what has silently happened is at L3 stage, we all got used to getting massive amounts of data collected from these devices. I'm referring to car as a device here, right? Now, this led to a new era of data analytics and data science and the analytics we keep speaking about. And now this has potential information to transform our daily lives. Let me give you a simple example. Today, we all drive from, say, Delhi to Agra or Bombay to Pune, right? And we all are used to stopping by the food courts to grab a burger or a samosa or whatever. Now, you know, just imagine I'm crossing a McDonald's, drive from Bombay to Pune, I'm crossing a McDonald's. I don't have a coupon, right? But McDonald's keep pushing me called SMS alerts, discount coupon so and so. And when I actually need it, I don't have it. But you know, these use cases will start proliferating. When we actually will drive, when McDonald's is 500 meters away, your McDonald's coupon will pop up on your dashboard. Now, don't we all think that is irrelevant? We have the coupon popping up when we need it the most. Now, what is relevant? Having a discount coupon or having the discount coupon in front of you when you actually need it? So that's how all this automation and the tech will manifest itself to enrich our daily lives, right? So that's a simple example. Yes, L4 mobility will again bring in a transformation with all these use cases coming to life. And obviously, as we evolve, I think India is very uniquely positioned because we have complexity on the roads. We are talking of use cases like V2X, ADAS, autonomous. Now with L4, V2X and ADAS will become reality, and some of these use cases will enrich our lives. Autonomous will start seeing day of light. And autonomous is a complex journey. Just imagine a vehicle driving on Indian roads. But that's the challenge we will solve. Nobody else in the whole world, any other country has that opportunity. We can solve it the best and other countries will replicate it. So that's the opportunity that we all are sitting on as far as autonomous is concerned. Now that level of evolution will help us evolve to a L5 level where a vehicle is in complete harmony with the ecosystem. Obviously, while the tech is ready, the edge compute, the cloud compute and the platforms are ready, it is not possible without a network like 5G, right? So this is the transformation that a 5G kind of technology will enable the industry vertical automotive mobility with, right? So obviously from Jio, we have been keenly working on this space over the last few years, the only provider in the country to do so. We have been silently understanding the complexity and building solutions. And today, even before the launch of 5G, we are ready with 5G-enabled solutions. And we are excited to deploy them in real life and invite all of you to collaborate with us to leverage and build solutions that are required for this country. Obviously, why 5G takes to next level, I think I covered it. 4 key elements: low latency, high bandwidth, ability to slice the network to application level, and obviously the humongous amount, there's exponential leap in terms of number of devices that can connect to the same quantum of the spectrum, right? So these are some key enablers or the differentiators between as we move from 4G and 5G, right? But I'll skip this in the interest of time. To focus on the use cases, right, in mobility, V2X, as I mentioned, is the first use case that will start transforming our lives. Now look at the map. Today, we all are sitting in a car. Now a vehicle can talk to a pedestrian, V2P. Vehicle can talk to a device on a roadside, which is V2D. Vehicle to vehicle. Vehicle to grid. We are leading the electric vehicle revolution in India, right? And many of our models are being replicated in developed markets. So the electricity grid has a key role to play in this journey. Vehicle to infrastructure, like the traffic signal or the roadside unit and many other units that the smart city projects will continue to deploy, leveraging 5G. And lastly, not the least, vehicle to the network communication. Now look at this grid. Today we are in an era, as we sit in this room, we are operating at a unit level. A vehicle guy is automating a vehicle, a network service provider is automating a network, a smart city guy is automating a smart city. But tomorrow this play will need all of us to come together and collaborate. No single one of us can actually make this happen, right? So are you able to sense the fundamental shift here? It's an ecosystem play. And we are at a place where we have none of these standards defined as we speak today. So today's standards are not sufficient. Today's policies don't even apply to this scenario. So we are at a whole new era where we need to develop standards, we need to have the right policies, we need to have the right technology platforms which can bring all the stakeholders together to deploy solutions. But yes, it's not that we are behind. This is a scenario everywhere, including United States and most of the developed countries in Europe as well, right? So some of the use cases of V2X, obviously at a safety level, with 5G and V2X coming, we'll move far safely on the roads than we are today, right? And a vehicle operations management level, traffic efficiency level, intelligent traffic management system in complex traffic cities like Delhi, Bombay, and any other city around the world, right? Society and information-centric services. For example, if there's a traffic, today we all follow Google Maps to see which route to take. But tomorrow your vehicle will automatically say, don't, or the vehicle will automatically take a turn to that direction, right? So these are some of the society level use cases. Air pollution management. If a pollution is high because of heavy traffic in one area, the smart city system can automatically alert you or alert the vehicles not to take this route, right? So many decisions are happening at a system level, imagine. As one of my panelists mentioned, you need not take a decision. The systems will enable you with the decision. So that's the level of automation that we are getting into, right? And 5G is the key enabler for all this to come to life. Without 5G, we can't even imagine a V2X, right? ADAS, the second use case that I mentioned. Obviously, today we all are used to a very nascent form of ADAS. When we all do reverse in our car, we have a video that we can see instead of moving our neck behind and seeing what's there. That's very basic level of ADAS. Now tomorrow with 5G, while the tech is ready, but we don't have the network speeds today. With 5G, we will have them. Now today you can switch, take a view from a car which is 5 cars ahead of you, vehicle. You can actually permit that vehicle to give you a view of how it is. So this is very important from a safety point of view, decision-making point of view, right? So the tech is getting ready with 5G, V2 ADAS technology. But how do we deploy it today? We need the standards again. We need the policies again, right? So a lot of work to do. But yes, these are some of the use cases which will see life. Last but not the least, I think as India, we're doing a phenomenal job in electric vehicle solutions. We need low-cost electric vehicles. We are a two-wheeler country, and some of these use cases, enabled by 5G, will also continue to revolutionize the electric vehicle ecosystem. Components which have never been connected, like an electric grid. How does the power get delivered to the vehicle for the charging infra and the battery swap infrastructure? The vehicle itself, as we saw, and the associated support systems and information systems around. Now look at the play here. At a policy level, we are seeing Ministry of not only Telecom, we're seeing Ministry of Road Transport and Highways MORTH, we're talking about Ministry of Power, right? So all the amalgamations, and I think government is also bringing many platforms to help enable all this upcoming challenges. I think projects like Gati Shakti and all, which my other panelists will talk about. But yeah, these are some of the exciting initiatives that are happening around, right? Yes, so to keep it short in the interest of time, at Jio we've been silently working to build all these platforms. Today, as we are at the, facing the 5G launch, our full stack is ready, right? From not just the connectivity, but the devices which will power these, ecosystems, the platforms, the data analytics layers, and lastly, the digital ecosystem, because we will consume data through apps and various interfaces, right? So this stack is ready in Jio, all 100% made in India, made for India. And obviously, we have plans to take this outside as well in the coming years, right? So that's what we've been doing to enable each of the industry. Obviously, the smart mobility platform is a very agile platform. We are happy to invite all of you to collaborate with us, because it's not just a Jio play or it's a Oracle play or any other play. I'm just taking names. That doesn't mean anything to anybody, but we all need to collaborate. And we at Jio are super excited to invite all of you and co-create solutions, make recommendations for standards, make recommendations for policies, and ultimately enable India to have some of the deployments which can be exemplary to the rest of the world, right? That's how we see it. Yes, with that, I'd like to conclude my brief presentation, and thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Mon, for sharing your views on how digital transformation in automobiles could look like, and bringing out the points about how collaboration again will be important between telecom industry, automobiles, government, and policy standards to really make this happen. Now we invite Mr. Arvind, as we say that we save the best for the last. So we have Mr. Arvind who's representing government, and all our efforts have to really align to what government's vision, what our Prime Minister's vision is. And here is what we have from Mr. Arvind, who is an ITS officer from 93 batch. He's director at DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. He's representing the prestigious project Gati Shakti, which he'll share with us right now. And he's already been in charge of industrial corridors, which is aiming to create the industry manufacturing cluster with plug-and-play facility. Prior to this, Mr. Arvind has worked in DOT and BSNL, where his contributions were instrumental in uplifting India's rank from 88 to 67 in the Network Readiness Index, and they contributed a lot in terms of India's interest in ITU with regard to ICT Development Index. So thank you for being here with us, Mr. Arvind.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you very much. I know I have very little time, and I will try to be very brief. I know the lunch is round the corner. I'll talk about the Gati Shakti and how Gati Shakti can be used for the rollout of 5G network. So how many of you, can you raise the hand, you have heard about PM Gati Shakti? Yeah, almost 50% people. So why Gati Shakti was required? Because many ministries, many departments, we are working in silos, and there are conflicting issues between the central ministries and the ministry and the state. We have seen in case of DOT, many private operators and the PSU, they are facing problems in getting ROW permission from national highway, problem with the defense land and the railway land, problem with the municipal corporations, lot of issues because of that many prestigious projects are hampered. So this is because one ministry is not knowing the plan of other ministry. For example, a road is made, and after some time somebody will come and dig the road and say, I have to lay the cable. And once it is restated, then somebody else will come there, I have to lay the pipeline. And after that, the telephone cable. And after some time, you will see that road was never made. Okay. So with this, the entire objective is that before any issue comes between the infrastructure ministries or the executing agencies, it should be addressed beforehand. So one ministry should know the plan of other ministry. So this entire exercise is to bring together. And how we can bring together that, then for that we have made a portal called National Master Plan. This portal is developed by BISAC, Bhaskaracharya Institute of Space Application and Geoinformatics. It's a national institute located at Gandhinagar. PM Gati Shakti is a transformative approach for economic growth and improving sustainable development. In fact, the logistic cost in India is very high. That's 13 to 14% of GDP is the logistic cost, which is much higher than the Western world, where it is 8%. This is because we don't have the proper connectivity, roads are bad, and connectivity is not there, because of which a lot of perishable products are not reaching in time. So PM Gati Shakti is to create a multimodal infrastructure in synchronism with each other, so that there will be a faster implementation of the projects and bring down eventually the logistic cost and bring logistic efficiency. Okay, I will skip some of the slides. This is next generation infrastructure development for Amritkal, seamless multimodal connectivity for goods, people, services, and this will bring the ease of living. We are working in silos, I have already told. Guiding principle of PM Gati Shakti, integrated development with railway, port, airport, MMLP, urban corridor. These should come together and work in synchronism with each other. Allied infrastructure like OFC, power, solar, wayside amenities, improved connectivity to the industrial clusters and economic zones. At the same time, we have to take care of the ecology and try to reduce the minimum interference with the wildlife and CRZ, and expedite land acquisition and minimize the clearance for ROW permissions. I will leave this also. It's a GIS-based platform for better visibility. Individual portals for all central ministry, individual portals have been created. there are more than 900 layers of central ministries. They are mapped on the GIS, and there are more than 600 layers of the state government, and these layers are, the progress is going on. So these layers, all such rich data is available, and this is visible to all. User and password have been given to all state and central ministry, and they can plan their projects. In fact, the private people can also plan the project, but for that, they have to go to BISAC and plan on the portal. So, database decision support system, and there are tools for NOC approval, clearance, and integrated project monitoring and transparency. Once the project is mapped and project is under execution, the monitoring framework is also put in place. For monitoring the highest level, there is an empowered group of secretary headed by the cabinet secretary, and there are around 20 secretaries from different infrastructure ministry and user ministries. They are the part of the empowered group of secretary, and there are network planning group in under each infrastructure ministry. There is a officer of the level of joint secretary, who is involved with the planning of that department. There is a group of that people, and they come together whenever any project comes. Now, in fact, after 1st April 2022, any government project more than 500 crore has to be on Gati Shakti portal. Otherwise, it will not be cleared. So, when such project comes, then the group sit together and see whether it is interfering with the other or somebody else has a plan, so that they can synchronize. And for supporting such network planning group, there is a technical support unit in each ministry, in the PM Gati Shakti. A similar kind of arrangement is there in the state government. Now, each state has to upload these many layers. And for 5G rollout, you can see the layers which are bold: electric poles, traffic light poles, bus terminal, bus shelter, government buildings. Because for this will act as a site for the street furniture, which is required for the 5G. And if you feel these are the layers which we thought these may be required, if you think that there can be any other street furniture, you may please send suggestion to us through DOT. There is an officer, DDG broadband, Mr. Neeraj Kumar is there. Through him, you can send directly to us also if you need some more layers to be created by the state government. We will get it executed. There are so many decision-making tools have been created in DOT itself. So many tools are there. I will not go into detail because of the paucity of time. You can discuss during lunch time. And what is the role of DPIT? We are conducting workshop and hand-holding state government and the central ministries. And you will be surprised, there is one campaign to train 10,000 officers of the director and above. It's going on. So the director and above officer of the 80 ministries, they are being trained. Okay, as a part of Gati Shakti, there is a Gati Shakti Sanchar portal, which is integrated with all central ministry and with the state government. For any ROW permission, all of you know, ROW is a big challenge, and getting permission is a very difficult task. So this ROW portal will facilitate. It has been integrated with the different ministry and state government, and this will facilitate getting the faster permission for ROW. And you can see, as a result, total pendency of all state UT on 15 December 21 is 71,000 ROW permissions required. On 7th August, this number has come down to 20,000. So this is because of the digital platform, and which is very much required for the coordination. And there is another problem in telecom sector. Whenever some road digging is there, optical fiber is the weakest infrastructure in terms of physical strength. So whenever any digging is there, it easily gets cut. If there is some pipeline, if you dig, then some sound will come and it will come to us, there's some pipeline there, then he will be alerted. But in case of OFC, it will be cut straight away. So DOT has taken extra interest to use this Gati Shakti portal. They have gone to BISAC, and that NMP portal is integrated with this. They have made an app. Okay, so that app is under trial mode right now in Gujarat and Damandiv. This click before you dig app is what it is doing. Once somebody want to dig, then the contractor will have that app. Any JCB contractor, they will have the app, and they have to indicate that I want to dig this place. So all the concerned departments of the nodal officer of that area, based on that latitude, longitude, they will be alerted. A message will go to them, and telephone will also go to them. So once they reject, it means they don't have asset there. They accept, then he will stop digging. He will say, let them come and coordinate where exactly the assets are there, so that they can be protected in time. So this is a very good app, and this is under trial right now. Nearly 10 lakh optical fiber cable get cut across India. Huge economic loss, 3,000 crore per year, wasteful expense for TSPs and ISPs, inconvenience to the people, loss of business. So state and UTs, they are mandating all contractors to use this solution, this app. Otherwise, they will not be given license to dig. Mandate all utilities to map their utility assets. So if you have not mapped any asset, then this will not be of use. For diggers to provide an interface to inquire, to know about the existing underground utility asset. So all this I have already discussed. Because of paucity of time, I will leave it. And there are some use cases of the National Master Plan. Fiberization, at present only 30% of the towers are fiberized. If you want to launch 5G and we want to get a good speed, then towers need to be fiberized. So there is one case of Goa. A tool has been developed. You can see these towers, black, they are non-fiberized towers. And there is another layer of fiberized towers, which is the green. And there is a existing OFC network and required OFC network, dotted lines. And you can see required length of OFC to connect non-fiberized tower is 2314 kilometer. This is the minimum distance calculated by the tool. Otherwise, what is happening? Every operator is laying its own cable, and it's a waste to the nation. The total length, if you see, by that will be much more than the minimum length which is calculated by this tool. So this tool is this can be used everywhere. Then there is a case of Patna city. There are existing towers. There is a layer of existing towers, and they have made a grid of 200 by 200 meters, and they have identified there in the grid the existing tower are 1517, and the new towers which are required 3098. So this planning of the 5G rollout can be done on the this National Master Plan. Similarly, for uncovered areas, and this is the example. I will not go detail because of the paucity of time. There is one more app which is going to be used for the user. The RF coverage of each operator will be mapped on this tool, NMP portal, and this NMP portal will be given access to the public. Now the guidelines from Ministry of IT has come. With some restriction, it will be given to the general public. They can see and choose their operator based on the signal strength they have. For example, I am living in Kaliwadi colony and going to Udyog Bhavan. I can see which operator is having the best signal. So I can choose the operator. So that app is under preparation. And with this, I come to the end of my this thing. I invite any question if you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind. It was really insightful and very encouraging to see the initiatives taken in Gati Shakti. I think this is an exemplary way of building a collaboration platform for digital information, which will be so relevant for industries to use, especially if we talk about telecom industries. We really like to thank DOT for taking some of the operators' requirements back into this Gati Shakti project and making this tool very, very useful, as we can see, for our lives in scaling up 5G networks. Thank you very much, Mr. Arvind. With this, I think we would like to conclude the session, and maybe if we are okay and we are having some questions that we'd like to take, one or two. I don't know how we are doing on time. We are late by almost 15 minutes. So what I will encourage is we can have more interactions during lunch, and we can do more one-on-one discussions with the panelists here and with myself, as may be the case. With that, I'd like to conclude the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for that wonderful session. As I request our session chair, Mr. Sandeep Gupta, to kindly do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude, a memento to our speakers, we present to Mr. Anand Kalpathy. He is the Technical Director, 5G, 4G Solutions, Quad-Gen Wireless Solutions. Thank you very much indeed. To Mr. Prabjot Singh Sethi, Vice President Engineering, Courage. Thank you, sir. To Mr. Mohan Raju, Vice President and Business Head, Smart Mobility, Reliance Jio. Thank you very much indeed. And to Mr. Arvind Pandey, Director, DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And may I now invite Mr. Shashidharan to kindly join us on the stage and do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude to Mr. Sandeep Gupta, EVP and Chief Architect, Network Bharti Airtel. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for being here with us today and wonderfully moderating this session. And ladies and gentlemen, we also have the privilege of having here with us today Shri R.K. Saxena ji. He is the Wireless Advisor to the Government of India, Ministry of Communications. Sir, we would like to honor you on the stage by presenting a token of gratitude. I was also invite Mr. Rajat Mukherjee, DGBIF, to join us on the stage and jointly with Mr. Shashidharan present a token of gratitude to Shri R.K. Saxena ji. Ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed honored. The event is being graced by Shri R.K. Saxena ji.
Unfortunately, so you were not able to see everybody. Oh, but this was the whole hall, and everybody was cheering for you. Well, I enjoyed the speech.
Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, Sir was here with us virtually yesterday, and he was our chief guest for this event. We could not present him with the memento yesterday, so we are doing the honors today. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Yes, sir. Can you join us for a group photograph, sir? And we now have a group photograph with the panel. And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, inviting everybody to join us for lunch. We would request everybody to reassemble at 2:30 for the next session, which is a panel discussion session, and will be the last session for this 2-day international conference on 5G India 2022. And ladies and gentlemen, let's once again have a huge round of applause for our distinguished dignitaries, the Honorable Chief Guest, our Chair for this session, and other eminent dignitaries for being here with us. And please enjoy your lunch and be seated back by 2:30. Thank you.
We have spoken.
back this way.